got him. He hit that underspin, by golly. That's a good one. Get out of the tree. Oh yeah, little Roosevelt Lake bass. Look at how that thing sucked that bait in. Oh, look at that. Little male bass. Look at the mouth on that baby. Oh my goodness. Folks, today we're at Roosevelt Lake. Beautiful springtime fishing. And I'll tell you what, this little bait that I'm throwing here, I've been running around throwing a spinnerbait, but every time I see something a little shallow going on or whatever, I think an underestimated, a lot of guys like to throw swim baits and things like that on beds and, you know, in the areas. But I can tell you right now, just from watching that fish's reaction to this bait was incredible. This bait actually, it's called an underspin, and they have, you know, a little blade that actually goes underneath the bait. So when you're bringing it in the water, it's actually twirling like this and it's coming across. You can see I'm using a little bluegill type pattern to the bait. They can't stand it this time of year in the shallows. Any fish around the area. The problem is this bait falls really fast. So you got to keep your eye on the bait in certain little areas like around these weeds and things like that. And he just annihilated that bait. And that fish wasn't on a bed. I just saw it roaming. But they're in the areas making beds. So we're gonna throw a little bit of this. We're gonna try to back it up a little bit with a spinnerbait going down the bank and see what we can't do here at Roosevelt Lake. The water temperature is 62 degrees. And this could make for a fun day, you know? The fishing at Roosevelt is a lot better than it's been in a long time. Partially because we all know what the fish are doing. You know, the hardest thing to do this time of year, or any time of year, is to find those fish, basically. And that's why it gets tough for guys in the summer, fall. They're trying to search where the fish are. There's a lot of fish in this lake, there really is. I know for a fact when we go out deep, we spoon, things like that, we're catching healthy fish. I think they do something a little bit different from what they used to do on this lake because of maybe the gizzard shad. But I can tell you this, in the springtime, it's real simple. Just get up in the shallow water, get up into these flat, shallow bays, and I'll guarantee you, you're gonna have a successful day on pretty much whatever you like to throw if you take your time and fish it right. With a little bit of breeze blowing, you can't go wrong by throwing a spinnerbait. And up in these trees and weeds and things like that, you can get it through there pretty well. We're in the flats. You know, you gotta find some flats. Just cover some bank, cover some water. Up, up. There's one out of a tree right there, little spinnerbait bass. Come on out of there. Oh yeah. Get up there in that shallow water. Come on, buddy. Oh, nothing like a little salad. There's a little spinnerbait bass right there, folks. Nice little keeper. Went back to my spinnerbait. Like I said, when the wind's blowing a little bit, you gotta throw that spinnerbait a little bit, man. It's just the ultimate lure for this kind of water. And as you can see, you know, when you're fishing real shallow water, 1/4 ounce, 1/8 ounce, 3/8 ounce, you know, staying with the weights that are a little bit lighter when you're in that 2 foot of water is key. Be that way you can slow roll it and still keep it up above. And they just demolish it when you come by a tree or something. But you can see what I'm throwing. It's a bluegill pattern. We're in dingy water. I like the chartreuse tail this time of year in the spring. And the reason why is because I want to imitate that bluegill or the perch. So I mean the bluegill, the pan-sized fish all have that little bit of a chartreuse tip tail to them. So that way I get a more aggressive strike out of these bass that are up shallow. So that's a lot of fun to throw. You can throw this on, some guys throw it on braid. I like 17 or 14 pound test line. I think the key for me is I still like to throw that fluorocarbon, a little bit less stretch in it. I'm using my rod. You can use a medium heavy to a medium action rod and get yourself a good bait casting reel and you're good to go. This isn't something, this is a heavier type lure And it's a little bit harder to throw this kind of bait on a, say, a spinning outfit, you know, an open face reel. So you want to learn how to throw these bait casters if you don't, because it's like a winch, and it works out perfect for throwing spinner baits. Oh, got him. Got that one that time. I just let it fall. Oh, look at that. Little 2-pound bass. Oh my goodness. That's what I call a little spinnerbait bass. Oh yeah, come on baby. Oh, that is so much fun. Oh, look at that. My bait fell right out of its face. It's a good 2-pound fish right there. Oh my goodness, that is so much fun, folks. I'll tell you what, I got bit in that tree earlier, and we went back into this cove, kind of looking around and throwing the blade and the underspin a little bit. And I thought, I know that fish is there. I got a ferocious strike, you know? It always pays to come back if you miss the fish, because a lot of times if you give it a different angle, they'll come back and just wallop it, you know? They'll grab it. So that's what he did. And what I had to do was bring it by the tree. And as I'm bringing it by the tree, as soon as I hit in front of the tree, just kill it. And right there, he whacked it. That was a lot of fun. That's why you use that heavier line, so you can get them fish out. And I'll tell you, that's very key, is you're throwing a reaction bait, so you want to use a little bit heavier line. Don't try to do this with 8-pound test line. Number one, you'll get too much stretch in your line to even set the hook. And number two, it's just, you know, it's so light that if you get caught up in some of this stuff, you could break a good fish off, because you don't know, you know, yeah, the fish are spawning shallow, but out here there could be a 7-8 pounder that just hit that spinnerbait. You need to get him out of there. So that's key. You know, one thing that's really important about throwing a spinnerbait, in my opinion, especially this time of year, is, you know, I like Colorado blades, but man, that double willow leaf here in Arizona, it's hard to beat. I use a nickel, and I also use a gold. I used to use just straight gold, and that works great too. But I like the nickel and gold. I get a real good flash. You know, one thing to remember, with willow leaf blades, you're gonna get maximum flash off willow leaf blades. You're gonna get maximum vibration off of the Colorado blades. So if you're fishing a little bit dingier water and you can't see but maybe a foot or half a foot, 6 inches, then I like to throw the Colorado blade. And a lot of times if I get like that foot visibility and that's all I get, then or a little less than that, I'll throw a what they call a tandem, which you'll have a little Colorado blade, say, on the front, so it gives it great vibration, and I'll still use a willow leaf on the back. But either way, just remember that if you're fishing really, really chocolate milk water, I would have a Colorado blade on one way or the other just for the vibration. But today, I can see at least a little under a foot or a little over a foot down, so I can see pretty good. The water's what I would call real dingy stained, but I can still see probably 2 feet underwater. So this works out great, this blade combination. Hey folks, for my tip of the week, one thing I want to tell you that's really important: if you're not fishing around a bunch of trees and brush and you're in open water and you can get away with a trailer hook on your spinnerbait, it'll help you tremendously. Always use a trailer hook where you can use a trailer hook, and I'll tell you what, you hook a lot of those short strikers. The other thing I want to tell you is make sure that, see how our grub is, make sure your grub is pointed in a downward position if you use the trailer hook for sure, because what'll happen is that grub will get caught up in that trailer hook. So leave it in the downward position and it'll help you a bunch from getting all caught up in your trailer hook when you go to cast, so you can still use your grub. That's my tip of the week. Oh, there was another one following him. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Come on, dude. Oh man, that is so much fun, spinnerbait fishing. And he crushed it. He got it down in there deep. Look at that. Boy, he's a fat little chunk too. Yeah, we just came off this little point right here where the little flat is, and that's exactly where he was. You know, the one thing I want to mention that's really important when you're fishing spinnerbaits, and a lot of guys don't do it, and it's very important to do this, You have to learn to retie. It never fails when you get them in the tree or the line gets caught in the blades a little bit when you're fighting the fish. It'll fray your line, it'll weaken it. So every once in a while, think about it. Retie, retie, and retie. It's a pain in the neck. I use a Palomar knot on all my spinnerbaits here. But I'll tell you what, when you do that, you're gonna save yourself when you do get that one big bite. Now, there's another thing to think about too with spinnerbaits. You have to remember that when a fish fights you with your spinnerbait, that most all spinnerbaits have the wire here that's not the piano type wire that goes back, but the wire will get bent. And those blades have to run straight over top of the hook, okay? That's very important. The blades have to come over top of the hook for the bait to run true. You can tune the bait. If a fish fights you and it's off here, you gotta make sure that you bring the arm back, that clothespin action back where it's straight over top of the hook. Because if it's on one side or the other, when you reel, it's gonna flip to one side or the other, or it might turn. So you can tune your baits, it's real easy to do, and I suggest that. And the other thing to think about is after so many fish, and it's gonna happen with any bait, I've thrown them all, trust me. After a while, your wire gets weak from all the bending and all the vibrating, and it's gonna break. Especially if you use it for a long time and don't lose the bait. If you're fortunate to have that bait last you that long, the wire eventually breaks and you lose your blades, and then you're gonna have to put on a new bait. So why I'm saying that is because I don't want you to go to the store and just buy one spinnerbait, come out here and just have a ball catching all these fish, and all of a sudden have your spinnerbait break and you're like, oh, doggone it, I only bought one or two baits. You know, make sure you buy a couple of baits because that really helps too. This kind of area like this on Roosevelt Lake is great. I love it when you have a flat point that comes out. You can see the trees on the end of it. You can see where it's a little bit dingier, where it looks a little muddier right there. That's because it's real shallow in there, probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep at best. And then you've got your trees. But those kind of flats like that come out to a point, a lot of times on the end of these points you can catch some fish, or right up on the flat if they're spawning. So you want to fan cast all this stuff. Work your way around it. Take your time. Some guys have a problem with just not going shallow enough. I'll see a lot of guys, we've already seen a lot of boats just hitting the outside of the trees on the deeper edge. And that's not a bad place to fish, don't get me wrong. But you know, when they're up spawning and stuff, you want to get up shallow. You can't worry about 6 inches of water. Get up in there. A spinnerbait is so versatile. You learn little tricks when you're fishing this bait, like if you're in an area that doesn't have, where you can't bump, what I call bump the stump, you know, where it's not ricocheting off rocks or something. I can make my own blades twitch, and just by twitching the rod tip, I'll just give it a little shake. I was at an FLW tournament here, and I was just giving that thing a little shake, and as soon as I shook it, stopped the bait and actually shook it, the bass would hit it. And if you're in open water and you don't have nothing to make it ricochet off of, a lot of times that's the ticket right there. Got it. Got that one. Ah! That's the deal, is you just can't pass up a little bit of those sight fishing bass hiding in the weeds over there. The lake went calm, and when the lake goes calm like this, and you can see it went dead calm, the spinnerbait bite kind of went away on us. So you got to figure some other stuff out. Well, you know what time of year it is. It's spring. I mean, these fish are there. So my whole plan was just to get up in there and try to catch some of these other fish. I'm using that little jig head made by Cactus Wren. And what I've done is stuck a little white grub. It's real subtle for some of these spooky fish. When you get into an area where there's a lot of spooky fish, just downsize a little bit. I still use a pretty good sized chunk grub, but you need to downsize just a skosh. And so what I did is downsize. I had to see the bait, so I had to go to something white. But here's the other thing, is I also chartreuse the tail just a little bit. And that helps a ton when you're trying to catch these fish because they'll hit it real aggressively. Let's see if that other fish is still in there guarding the nest. Because there's a bigger fish in there, without a doubt. Here she comes. Got her! We got her! Oh my God! Oh! This could not happen to me! Got him. He followed it down. That was so much fun. You know what, folks? I'll tell you something else that's a lot of fun, and I got to tell you, when you're just going down the bank and you see these fish roaming, I saw the fish just coming over top of the, we actually turned the boat around. I'll let him go real quick. And he was just swimming around the tire right there. All I did was throw my bait down. It fell all the way to the bottom and I felt thunk, and I watched him go all the way down and grab it. I mean, I didn't get to see him grab it because the water's not clear enough, but that kind of stuff is a lot of fun. If you tie yourself on, you know, a little tube or something like that, you know, and that's another reason why I like that little jig head from Cactus Wren, is it just drops everything right there and now. It's got that little flat head on the bottom, so it'll sit down like so, you know, and I'm just throwing a tube bait on it. And that's what he just hit. But that's a lot of fun. So if you're going down the bank and you see fish, especially roaming through the weeds or anything like that, this bait's awesome. Well, I saw him dart after it though. When you see him dart after it, you get really excited. Got him. We got that one. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, son. Yeah, that'll turn a frown into a smile. Come on, dude. Oh, you couldn't stand that bait, could you? You couldn't stand it. Right in the upper lip. I'll tell you what. Are you kidding me? Springtime at Roosevelt Lake, man. It's a lot of fun. I had an opportunity at a big fish, lost it because I was trying to pull it out of the water. But, you know, I'll tell you what, I've had a great time on this lake. Underspin, we started with that. Caught a fish on that, a real aggressive fish. Ended up going to spinnerbait because the wind picked up. As you can see now, it's flat. When the water goes flat, you want to start moving up into the shallows, you can throw your Cincos, you can go sight fishing, you can do, you know, a little top water even this time of year you can catch fish on. But you got all different kinds of variety of ways of catching fish. The key is don't fish way out deep, start moving into the shallows where the fish are, and you'll catch fish. Take your kids out, have a good time. Till next time, we'll see you on the water. I'm Johnny Johnson. That was a product of me trying to get that fish to come out of the water so you folks at home could see it. If you think I'm taking the blame for that fish, you're crazy, because I would have never pulled that fish out of the water if I was in a tournament. I did it so you folks at home could see it. I knew I could find a way to calm down and figure out somebody else to blame for losing that fish. I can't hear you, so I mean, it's your fault. Oh my goodness.